Hi,
I
Martin.
recognize a lot of the usernames. Hey, how's it going? I
Yeah.
recognize a lot of the usernames in
Woohoo.
here. Awesome creators who are building
Sonia's
stuff that I see
here.
in the group. Great, we have Sonia as
Yay.
well. And then I think
Sonia, come on down.
Molly will come. Yeah,
Yeah, go
so my
ahead.
name's Martin Schubert. I'm a designer on the team, mainly focused on interactions and mechanics. So I work
Mm-hmm.
mostly on like the built-in interaction system, so like locomotion and object
Mm-hmm.
interaction and things like physics and stuff. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also work on
Fancy.
scripted mechanics to make things like the throwing examples world and the launchers examples world, and the tutorial write-ups to go
Yeah.
with them to basically like try to show or try to show where we're at currently with the ceiling of of interaction feel, and try to seed examples of good feeling mechanics and stuff that we want to see across Horizon.
Awesome. So you wrote those super long documents and you're the person replying with really, really intelligent answers about these things that I I glaze over, but you've been helping me with mechanics
Yeah,
of
the
it.
58-page doc
Yay.
probably was a long one to start
Yeah,
with,
that
but yeah,
was
I'm hoping
you.
to do smaller
So
ones
good.
for more sort of interaction patterns in the future.
Yay. And Llama's back, so come on over here again. Got to make that entrance more obvious. So, hi, Sonia. Welcome. High five. Yay. Glad you're here. Oop, almost. There you go. Molly's like jumping
Sorry,
through the chair.
still
Oh my
learning.
It's
goodness.
okay. No worries.
We're
I know
grabbing
it's been a frenzy. We just had another meeting back to back.
Yeah.
So, yay. Martin just introduced himself. Do we also have Kitty Meowser come in, Llama?
She's unable to make it today. Apologies. Kitty is
Oh,
unavailable now. But
okay. Good to
but
know.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, maybe we'll have an extra chair for our guest questioners because we do have quite a few people here. Okay. And Sonia, have a seat here, and you were here next, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Sonia. I'm new to the team. I am working on developer/creator relations, and so this is the end of week 3 for me. So be gentle. And I'm so much looking forward to working with all of you. And Molly's done an excellent job in helping me onboard. And I met a couple of the folks in here in the other session earlier, so thank you so much. And I don't know how helpful I'll be for today's discussion, but it's great to meet you all.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad you're here. And I love the purple hair. We've got a purple
Thanks.
thing going on. Yeah.
I will just say it's
Awesome.
really purple in real life.
Is it really? You're consistent? Oh, that's so good.
Yes,
Yay.
I try to have it reflect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so Molly, why don't you introduce yourself for anybody here who doesn't know Molly? I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe
cool.
This is redundant.
I'm Molly, or Llama Rock. I'm one of 2 community managers for Horizon. I started back in March, so I'm the newest community manager. But yeah, I do all things. Community efforts. I work with these 2 fine individuals internally, and you'll see me often on the Facebook group as Molly. So it's really good to see you all here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and thank you for each of you coming to this question and answer. We might have questions from people who are here right now, and my emphasis as one of the leaders of Horizon Creator Community was to go from a different direction, which is not only are we doing a competition, but this competition has prize money, and that can be a double pressure piece. And so for those of us who don't feel like scripting is our strength, raise your hand if that's a thing in here. Scripting is not my strength. Aha, there we go. Lots of people. So for those of us that don't feel that, we're already really intimidated. And then to add on to that competition, and then to add on to that money, feels kind of like a narrowing tunnel. And so I wanted to have this question and answer to try to understand the intention of this experience, but also like how any of us, especially those of us who don't have a lot of experience playing around with shooting games or scripting or whatever, how we could even find this competition useful and be successful at it. Like, what does that even mean? So yeah.
Oh, sure. I'll jump in first, and then I'd love to hear from both of you as well about this. But you all are my people. I do not script. I do not know how to script either. So if I were to participate in this competition, which sounds amazing, and I totally would if I wasn't an internal employee, I would collaborate. And that's what I think the really awesome part about this competition, this series, and just Horizon in general is, you know, look at you all who showed up here, and you know, you're part of this HCC community. You're part of the Horizon community. There's people out there that need collaborators, and this is the beauty of it, right? This is where I think we're going to be seeing so many incredible launchers, because, you know, A person's going to meet up with B person, and they're both going to come from different backgrounds and have different perspectives. And then but you don't just have to limit it to 2 people too. It could be 3, 4, you know, whatever. You can all collaborate together. Just one person submits. And that's really, I just want, the word collaboration has come out of my mouth so much since we started just internally talking about this program, and I think that's really the name of the game. Sonia, do you have anything else you wanted to add to that? Or?
Sure. I think, as Molly pointed out, it's a great opportunity to get to know other folks in the community and work together. But keep in mind too, to the point of, you know, this can be intimidating. This isn't the only competition that we're looking to run, right? It's the first of many. And I'm sure I'm, you know, doing a no-no and letting the cat out of the bag about some things. But yeah, you can expect that we will have a ton more competitions coming up as we move forward, and as the community gets bigger, and as the platform gets bigger. And so it's just a way to participate and to show off your creativity. It is not the only way. So hopefully, you know, folks can start working together and start playing around.
Okay.
And I just want to add on to that. I'm so excited. It's like I'm so fueled here. Let's say you collaborate and you submit, and, you know, whatever, you know, a lot of people are submitting. Not everybody's going to win, but you've created these relationships and you've learned something, so that, as Sonia said, when we have the next round of competitions, you'll just be that much further ahead and better, and you're building these skills and you're meeting these people, and it's a win anyway.
Okay, I like that. So thank you for those answers. And I get that maybe one of the deeper intentions here is to grow some directionality, some flow for people, where there's maybe more of a magnetism or a draw to say, like, let's be uncomfortable and figure out some hard stuff together, and also lean on people that we might not approach normally to say, like, hey, do you want to try to make that spark and launch together? And so there's a metaphor in this of launching of sorts. This is the beginning of the launch, but there are more launches after it.
And I wanted to actually shine some light over here on Martin. He, you know, it's not, please speak to this. It's not just about making weapons either. There are so many more different kind of launchers to make than weapons, right, Martin? Yeah.
Obviously on the launcher side, weapons is a subcategory of launchers. There's tons and tons. I think we talked about this in the Q&A yesterday, but there's tons of other things that involve, like, having something that is here and sending it over there. Could be you know, the one that I kept bringing up yesterday was you could be launching water and make a firefighter game, or you could be launching seeds that become plants when they hit something, or you could be using a bow and arrow to shoot something which teleports you to where the arrow lands. Like, there's tons of stuff that you can do that is based around the idea of like the interaction pattern of launching things. Weapons is one where you're trying to hit other people, but there's tons and tons of other things that you can do outside of weapons. But I wanted to answer your prompt at the beginning about the idea of scripting being intimidating, and then having a competition framing being more intimidating, and then having prize money associated being more intimidating. Definitely understand that those things can be intimidating. I think a different framing that might be helpful is twofold. One, I think, is for me, in even where I am now in terms of like VR development and stuff, how I got here was through game jams. Was like a huge thing that helped me. So my background is actually, I studied architecture in school, and so like I don't have a computer engineering or computer science background at all. Studied architecture, and then in like 2013, I wanted to learn VR development because it was becoming a thing. And so like through YouTube tutorials, I learned Unity, and then through game jams, I had a forcing function that actually got me to make stuff, which was a huge help in actually getting me to finish things, because otherwise I would sort of just mess around in Unity and not finish anything. But then actually having a deadline and a theme and constraints is something that's super helpful for actually getting work done. And so, and like actually having an end date that you're working towards. So I think like the competition framing will help with that. It's if you think about it less as a like I have to make something and I'm going to be judged, and more of a I have a date that I want to hit and I get to work with the team on it, and there's an outcome from it. It's a good framing. And then also, yeah, on the collaboration front, there's multiple ways of approaching the whole I don't know how to script currently problem. One of them is definitely to talk to other people who know how to script or know a little bit of scripting and work with them in a world. Another one could be just even finding other people who don't script currently, so that you can jump into a world with them, and you can both, like, or many of you can work together to learn how to script. So like, you know, you start with something simple, and then one person figures it out, and then you all go over to the scripting panel and look at the script together, and, you know, learn together, so you're not alone when you're trying to figure out the stuff. And then the extra thing I would add is also the launcher examples. So the launcher examples world is built for you to go to the create menu, go to new world, go to launcher examples, click it, you get a clone of the world, and then you can go into that clone of the world and you can look at there's a basic example of the projectile launcher, which is literally like 3 lines of code. It's like, when this object is grabbed, sorry, not even that, when trigger is pressed, launch object. It's like 2 lines of code, and that works currently. So one of the really useful ways that I learned to do stuff was not like start from a blank canvas or a blank world, a blank project, but start from something that already works, and then just change like one number and see that the number that I changed had some effect. And you could even literally just changing on the example projectile launcher that's in the launcher examples world. If you change the say gravity on the projectile to a negative number, the projectiles will like float up, which completely changes the feel of the launcher. And you could make like a balloon launching gun or whatever from that. So I think not looking at it as like I have to build a world from scratch and I don't know how to script, but more so collaborators and little tweaks, and little tweaks can build up into something that feels very different.
Wow. I feel like you embody a launcher because you've got the speed of a bullet in how you think. And I also learned a lot. I feel like download complete, you know, and now I have to go process and refine the data in my head. I'm like, oh, I want to go try this now. That sounds really simple. And it's really encouraging to me as somebody who doesn't necessarily do as much gun games as everyone knows, right? That this is not as an interesting concept to me of trying to shoot people, but I'm having all kinds of ideas spark now. If I thought that like whatever comes out of pulling the trigger can float and can maybe have some skewed gravity and go other directions. So I'm scheming. So other than it being a time for RC Digs to have clever ideas, I appreciate also the answers for everyone else. Yay. I guess my next question is who's measuring this competition, and like who are the human beings behind this, where I know as a minority creator, I can feel like, for a long time, that little cube, 100 meters underneath the grid, my friends and I all created mythos around the cube, very much like cave people probably thought the sun was the giant god source of fire. And we were like, it's Mark Zuckerberg listening to us. And we would go down there, and we didn't know that was just the 000 cube. It took us a long time to learn that. And so there's a part of it of this sense of where is this coming from, and who's going to be evaluating and saying this person is better, because especially with the idea of a projectile, it feels like this is going to be, even if we can create floating balloons, why would that be the one that wins anything versus something that shoots lasers and everything else?
One thing that really attracted me to work for Facebook, or now Meta as it's called, is the diversity of the people on my internal team. And so we have a diverse amount of, or a diverse quality of people that are going to be judging these mechanics. And they range from leadership in FRL, and they come from a variety of backgrounds, including like 3D art, AAA gaming, VR mechanics. So it's not just going to be, one or two people with the same background. It's going to be a very diverse group of leadership that have spent time actually engaged with these kind of products.
Okay. And is this something where, yeah, go ahead, Martin.
I'd also add, so I think we have the criteria for how we're judging entries on the group post, and I don't remember it exactly, but I remember that it's varied across a couple of categories. Some of the categories are around how like delightful it is, the launcher is to use. Some of them around how reusable the launcher is, like how, and by reusable I think we're talking about things like in the script, do you name variables such that somebody else can read it later and like figure out what's happening, and not just name things like A or B or like 1, 2, 3, and so you don't know. So like reusability, delightfulness. I forgot what the other ones are, but I think you can check out what the criteria are there. So we're trying to make it, I think, transparent on like how to do well in the competition by going towards those criteria. And I think another thing on the just gonna say, I think another thing on the weapon side is if you think about what maybe, I hope this isn't the case, but maybe a majority of people will make weapons. I hope it's not the case, but maybe if a majority of people will make weapons, that means that delightful weapons, making the most delightful weapon will be harder. So actually, if you go outside of weapons, you'll probably have a better shot at making something unique and delightful.
Yeah, I like that adjective, delightful descriptor. Like, does it bring our hearts into a more sense of bright place? That doesn't sound, for me at least, that's not a gun game as much. I don't want to eliminate people or pull them out. I don't feel delight in that. So I get to think about that differently, and that's my direction, but it gives me some sense of safety, and that we can be super weird and creative here and have all kinds of things happen out of pulling a trigger, and not even thinking about a trigger like a gun, but just as a stimulus and then a trajectory.
Definitely, yeah. So if you check out the launcher examples tutorial doc, it breaks down. I think if you think about launching, obviously, like it sounds maybe a little bit to do with weapons, but I think if you abstract it more to the interaction pattern, launching is just like a thing is here, and then I want to send it over there, and launchers generally are around aiming a lot, and so like how you aim and how you trigger is how I broke it down in the doc. It could be anything, like pressing the index trigger on the controller is one way of doing it, but like in a bow and arrow or a slingshot or something, you grab and you pull. You could, even if you wanted to do something that was more like gesture based, you could track the position of the hands and say if they accelerate at a certain level, like you create a wave of some kind, and that would also be launching. So I think it's very open.
Wow.
And on
that's interesting.
On the delightful side, I think like delight is subjective, but I think we all know like when something is delightful, like it's fun, you want to do it more. That could be anything. It could be a weapon. It could be like I enjoy some shooter games here and there. So like shooting a gun and it feels good to shoot can be delightful for different people. But I think the delight part, some of that is the feel of things, which I describe in the doc as the audio visual haptic feedback. So like, you know, when you if you played Arena Clash recently, using the weapons in that, when you press the trigger, there's audio visual feedback happening, there's haptic pulses. It just feels fun to shoot that weapon. But similarly, like unexpectedness, I think can also be delightful. Like you press the trigger and something unexpected happens can be delightful. So I think it's pretty malleable as a criteria.
Yeah, beautiful. Definitely. And I get that there's going to be a lot of different pieces that delight all of us, right? We're all humans and we have different needs and hungers. And I'm hearing that there's that uniqueness that you're looking for that gives more range, more diverse delight is maybe what we're looking for. Interesting. Any other comments on that question of like who's judging and I was even going to ask you this question of like, can we talk to the judges after they've judged? Like, is there a way to hear feedback directly or be given our growth edge of like, oh, well, maybe I named my stuff 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could get a little bit of reflection on that if we had another Q&A or something. Is that a possibility? So it doesn't feel like we projectiled our competition into the Horizon people and then out came some prize money, but we don't know where those decisions got made and how we can improve for our next competition.
I'll take your feedback that you just provided, your request, but as of right now, they will be able to provide general feedback over the themes that they've seen, but specific one-on-one feedback is not something we can offer at this time.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Awesome.
I think hopefully, like also with the group posts, that'll be an opportunity for people to get feedback on their creations from the community. Because since you have to post in the group with the video, I encourage everyone to like comment on the post and give feedback so that you get personal feedback on individual creations that way. If we can't manage to get personal feedback to everybody.
Okay, got it. I've also heard different hypotheses on why Horizon is inviting this competition, and there's a question of what will Horizon do with this information? Like, are you going to build games on it? Are you expecting us to build games off of this? Is this just kind of like trying to give us the running jump and then something else is going to happen with this? Where's this going?
Did you want to take that, or I can as well? Sure.
Go for it. I can
okay. Yeah, entries, I believe this is actually in the terms, but so I'm just going to read it just directly from that, and we can expand. But entries may be packaged and distributed to the Horizon community as a template. These templates may include the entrants' usernames and will be free for use and remixed without attribution by other Horizon members. So that's basically we want. We want to create templates and have, things out there for people to use and create from.
So all those templates we've been making as a community, this is like another layer of incentive to keep making them and being free use, open source for people. That's beautiful. Yeah. This is all really good information. Anybody here have some questions about going along this theme of how this competition can be community oriented instead of just I want to be the winner? Any questions on that for our panel? Got a very contemplative panel. I wonder with the trajectory piece as a social scientist, I'm always looking at like how much conflict is good conflict versus like at what point is the stress of the deadline going to make me like test the projectile on you and be like, okay, Sonia, you're out, so like what would you say, even just as human beings that showed up for this and said go gentle on me, like How do you cope with these kinds of pressures, and what would you suggest for a community of like how to navigate those awkward moments where we all have different ideas? And Sonia, you're on mute if you are trying to talk.
Yeah, sure. I can take a first stab and then, yep, hit something in the real world. Yeah, so I think have fun first and foremost, right? All of these are meant to have fun, be creative, and then I think ask for help, right? So there's our lovely community leaders like yourself. There's, we're available for help and support, and if you have any questions, and then lean on other creators within the community, and make sure that you're getting the support that you need.
Okay.
I think from my own personal experience, I am my own hardest critic, and sometimes I am known to beat myself up for not knowing something I feel like I should have known, right? Like I should have just been born knowing this thing. But it's a learning process. I didn't get, to here by, just being born into community management. I really studied it. I really have a passion for that. So if you have a passion for building, or just being here in Horizon and being a part of this group, just like Sonia said, just have fun, start where you're at and really just try to learn and immerse yourself. I spend hours immersed in podcasts about community. I love it. I nerd out about it. If I wanted to learn how to script, I would totally nerd out about that too. I would probably start on our Learning Hub library just with the tutorial, how do I script, or find members to collaborate with. But try not to beat yourself up. Just meet yourself where you're at, and remember we are, as you said, all human.
Yeah, thank you. Martin, any suggestions from you?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the what you brought up earlier was about like how to collaborate necessarily, or like how to decide who makes decisions under like stressful environments. But one other thing to add, just on that point, was I think the competition currently we've structured it so that there's one world owner who's the person who's submitting, and then there can be collaborators, and like if you were to win, then that person is the person who will divvy up any prize money or anything. So I think if you have like multiple ideas, or if you want to lead a project, it might be a simple way to structure it is like one person's the captain or whatever, and they're the owner of the world, and then you bring collaborators into that world, and then similarly you could collaborate on somebody else's world with them as the captain, and so then that way it sort of has a clear delineation of like responsibilities and who makes calls and stuff like that. But yeah, on the front of like being stressed by the competition and things, I think like Horizon was still very, very early, and so like if a year from now you look back at like this competition, which is just like a small 2-week competition where also the scope of the competition is fairly small, like it could be the last day of the competition, you haven't made anything yet, and you go to the example world, you take the basic example launcher and you just tweak some stuff for an hour or two, and you could probably make something pretty interesting in just an hour or two. So I think it's probably the smallest bite-size thing that you could commit to. I think in a year from now, if you look back, if you start today with just like spending a couple hours making something on top of the existing launcher, which should be fairly easy, then you'll look back and be like, I can't believe how much I've learned since then. But I think, yeah, getting over that initial bump of like, I don't know how to script and this requires scripting, just go into the example world, change a number, and you have scripted. So like, it's a very easy on-ramp, I think, to start with small things and then keep going.
That's great. Yeah. Wow.
I do
so
wanna,
many good tips.
Just I do want to clarify it's actually a 3-week contest. December 5th. Yep.
That's even more time.
Make sure.
So, 3 weeks, so 2 weeks.
I was going like, did we take that long to schedule this? I thought we had more time. So yeah, well, and I want to go back to Molly's point of starting where you're at. I was supporting a team growing around building a projectile launcher, and what I found myself doing in starting where I was at was just really asking the question, like, what do these gizmos look like? I honestly have avoided them since they came out, because I thought for my own sense of like nervous system and whatever, I don't want to interact with projectiles, so like I'm not going to even touch them. And so I pulled them out and was surprised to see what they turned into. And so I actually just started with sculpting the gizmos, and that, you know, out of the concept of we're going to be in this event, and to actually have a visual and not be talking about this ghostly, you know, thing that we don't even know to recognize. So I sculpted them, and then I challenged myself to actually like try to do the scripting on them. Yeah, nice jump, Martin. And actually experience the process of transformation. So this is just my own little feeling kind of proud of being able to, like, when you grab it, it actually turns into the thing that comes out of the menu system.
Wow.
And then I was like, and then can I get it to go back when I let it go and be oriented correctly? And so that's taken so long to get myself to the point where I was willing to take the risk of scripting from the many scripts I've read over time, and just try it out and tweak it, and also ask for help from the people that were there. And then I was just freaking delighted. I was like, high five me that I like got this far with these, and I have some interactables that can be engaging for people who've never built worlds. I'm going to put these where they're available and anybody can download them. So, you know, some of it is just getting our hands on it and playing around with it, and not being intimidated by the script until we've actually just looked at the gizmo and figured out what the properties are and whatever else. So I appreciate that advice also. I'm definitely feeling more of a human connection to having you all here, and I wonder, is there plans for the gizmos, the other gizmos, to be in a competition so that we can learn to use them all creatively, not just these?
That would be fun. I don't have any details on upcoming competition that I can share, but that is a lovely idea for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, you're welcome. And can I get something for that? No. So yeah, other gizmos, or just, you know, the familiarizing ourselves with these tools, you know, even having a different, what is it, the patterns that we now can put on the paint, of like having a pattern competition, and just trying to like get ourselves to be in the joy of it instead of the like, I won, so therefore. Because I've just heard a lot of concerns about the culture becoming hierarchical or ego based, and wanting to know how do we protect for that, and how do we create that delightfulness, not just in the outcome but in the process, so that you know, there's been some politics in the world around Roblox and whatever else, of like, we're inside an application and you're trying to reward us for our effort and our creativity and fostering the community, but how do we not flip that into, but I have to win, or we have to win, and if we don't win, we're not the best? And how do we like do some kind of reinforcement system of like, if we all grew, then we all won, you know, if we all stretched. And in that respect, maybe self-elected, forgive me, but I'm the first winner of the projectile thing, because I added a script to something I was scared of. So thank you. Woo! And we'll see if I do anything else. But that was growth for me, and being willing to grab them and touch them and play with them and try to support other people who really probably want to play with these a lot more, already have. And knowing that it is the community interaction. Yeah,
that's key. We need to lift each other up, inside and outside of VR. You know, we need to be there for each other, collaborate, help, and not be part of that hierarchy. You know,
I think the split between sort of you've started creation and you've been sculpting, you've been texturing things, you've been building amazing worlds like this, and then like scripting being a barrier to like I think the way that you framed it just there, I get the feeling that like a competition based around scripting is where the conflict is coming up a little bit, where scripting, if you don't right
it launches me into frozenness.
Well, so like, I mean, the thing that you just pulled out, like that involve probably more scripting than like the tweaks that I was just describing to the
Yeah,
launcher
that's
example.
really
So like
interesting.
I think a lot of it is maybe just a mental barrier of like I've opened a script, I've opened a blank script, I don't know what any of this stuff does, or I've looked at other people's scripts and there's just all this stuff in there and I don't know what's going on. I think just like put all that aside, like there's tons of stuff. All of us don't know anything about many things. Like put all that to the side.
Yeah.
The only thing you should care about is like a very small step, personal step, like what you just did, which is I want to make something. I want to make this thing change or disappear, and I want some other line to come out of it. Whatever it is you want to do, make the projectiles float upwards, and then scope that problem quite small. And then if you need help, go ask someone about it. And then once you've done that, exactly, celebrate, and then just keep going.
Yeah.
And then eventually, over time and over making a few projects, you'll get to the point where I don't think I think a hierarchy might just exist when you're thinking of like scripters and non-scripters, but literally change one number in a script and you're a scripter. So I don't think it's as clear of a line between them.
Oh my goodness, we're all scripters, everyone. Woohoo! Look at that, we just upgraded. We're all scripters. I just realized also the confetti, would this count as projectile?
If you scripted it yourself, if you put a confetti burst VFX above your head and you scripted it, then technically that would count as a launcher.
That's okay. So yeah, look at we're all that's right. We're all projectiling or launching things all the time. So thank you for that. I'm wondering if there's anyone who has thought of any questions that haven't gotten answered in the Q&A. Looks like Sammy and Harry. Anyone else? Okay, Sammy, you first. Come on down and grab the key. Having some glitches in this world, but we'll see how this goes. And just so we know, I did not script this. Oh, Homed, did you just do that? Homed's like, sorry. There we go. And Homed, if you are gracious, I'd love for you to go through the exit sign unless you have a question. There we go. That'll just put you out. Perfect. So Sammy, yeah, come on in. Have a golden seat here. And Sammy's on mute.
So about scripting.
Out of the way. Yeah.
When I first got into Horizon, I knew nothing about scripting. I went into the scripting tutorial. I think it's called what's it called?
Let's see here.
Yeah, the script samples. The script samples. And I tried to learn from that. Helped a little bit, but I feel like those scripts, some of the scripts are kind of complex, and for someone who's new, they can't really replicate it. Or if they could, it's like, how do I use that to create something brand new? It's like, how do you start from the beginning when learning how to script? Not from trying to curate something that's only for one purpose. I've heard people say, okay, I've learned this, but how do I use this in another situation? And they can't really replicate that. So it's like, we need space so we can start from the beginning of how to learn, what does this do? Why you should use this one? Why you should not use this in this area? It's like, having a mentor is really helpful, but it's like, they're not always there for you. It's like having a place where you can go, like the tutorials, but more step by step, how to learn how to script can be more helpful.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. Have you been able to check out the new intro to scripting tutorials that we just uploaded onto the Facebook group and the Learning Hub? I'm just wondering what you thought of those, if you had. Are those more helpful, or do you feel like there's still a barrier there?
I think it's a great start. It could be an issue of like trying to curate in VR while trying to watch a tutorial on the phone or a computer and switching between it. I do love tutorials. I do find it really helpful, but having something inside of VR in one area could be helpful.
Yeah,
but
thank you. No,
Sure.
that's it's a great point about maybe we're gonna all grow and then your team is gonna grow, and like, how do we teach people better on projectiles? And now we have all these examples, but like, how do we teach something so that people want to build projectile plus something else, or be springing board from the launcher to something else?
And this is how we grow as a team as well, as we we take the feedback. We listen to the people who are immersed in our tools and our community and wanting to, no matter where they're at, starting or a high level, like what do we need to provide you to get to you to the next point that you'd like to be at. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that is really helpful. I know they have that video, I think, or you have that video in the very first world, and somebody actually published one of their basic worlds with that video. And I came in, and at first I didn't realize it was the scripting or the video from the intro, and I was like, oh my god, Horizon has videos, and then I realized it was from the intro. But it was this moment of going, wait, they still have this technology, and it even showed up in publish mode, so like that's interesting. So yeah, all kinds of possibilities of bringing those videos even in so we can grab our objects and play with them as we're watching. Yeah, yay. Any other reflections on Sami's piece, or you're like, we'll take feedback and get back to you?
Yeah, I think like our educational materials are going to expand over time and get more in depth. I think right now, yeah, the new videos that we have are a good start. And then the tutorial worlds that are in the create menu, and then the example worlds that are in the new ones, using those. And also, again, just like incrementally trying to figure things out, trying to figure out like what every script block in the whole editor does at once is going to be way too daunting. Having a goal in mind, I think, is like exactly like your Raycast Gizmo, like knowing what you want to do and thinking like, I think I know most of the things that I need to do to get this done, and then maybe asking about some other things, but being right on that edge of like, I'm using what I've learned before and I want to add like one thing to that is a good way to like progress.
Absolutely. It was definitely a growth edge for me to like synthesize multiple scripts I've tweaked before to go, wait, I figured this part out. All of these work. So yeah, good. Okay, and then we had another question from Harry. So Harry, come on down. I feel like it's the Price is Right, but it's the Launcher is Right apparently today. So Harry grabbed the key. Yes. Okay. Oh, do you have the key? There we go. Yay. So have a seat, Harry.
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So, my question is, I'm not expecting a definite answer, obviously, on this, but I've always wanted to know if there's a direction for this, because we have a lot of builders in Horizon worlds who are building game worlds, and these are very much promoted through these great programs like the Accelerator and now the Launcher program. They're great for promoting these kinds of game worlds. But there's also the other builders in Horizon, and there's a lot of us who are building either art worlds or hangout worlds or even worlds that tell a story. And those are very inspiring, and they're really influencing the community for positive direction and things like that. So is there any potential for competitions in the future to promote these kinds of worlds as well, not just the game worlds?
I love those worlds.
I love that
for
question.
Sure.
Yeah. Sonia, you're on mute just in case you're trying to talk. Oh, not trying to, waving. Okay.
You're not? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love those worlds. They're some of my favorite. I love the hangout worlds. I've spent a lot of time in the museums, and yeah, I feel more comfortable there probably than anywhere. And I totally agree that there's always going to be room for more. And again, I don't have any details of the upcoming competition series, but I do certainly appreciate the feedback and the desire and the passion, I mean, that you're all putting forth, no matter what kind of worlds you're building. So, and I know the team sees it, and I mean, we all are in here and looking and experiencing, and yeah, so thank you very much, Harry, for the feedback on that.
Something something I might add to that, I think I can't speak too much about like the strategy for featuring and spotlighting worlds. I think maybe we'll share more about that later. But like I think at the moment, when you come into worlds, if there's structure to the world, so like if you come into the world and there's no one in it, and there's instructions and there's like games provide a structure because they tell you, hey, there's a goal and you can do these things. I think often those worlds are easier for people to get into, and so that's where you might have more people come in and spend some time, which then means that more people can come in, and then you can get concurrency going, and you can have a group, and you can have a social experience. So I think that's a little bit of the framing on the game side. But on the competition side, something like the launcher here is definitely, I mean, we're not asking for a game, we're not asking for an objective or a score or anything like that. In fact, I think this competition would be one where something that's more artistic or unexpected and delightful would be do well in the competition, because it isn't framed around a game structure. So yeah, again, I think like just sort of a different perspective that you can take on a competition is that you make it into an art project and see what kind of like a launch, what if you have the power of VR. Like in the launcher examples, I made the planes scale up, which is just like, why, it's fun. You can do it in VR, you can do it easily compared to doing like a real life version of that. So I definitely like push the boundaries and consider it an art project, I think, if you want, for the launcher competition.
Yeah, and along those lines, Martin, what I appreciate about this is I just keep asking myself, if I was a newbie creator coming in and going like, what, there's $10 million and oh, but there's $25,000, but oh, but like maybe I could hope to win the honorable mention, or maybe I don't, and how do I live with myself with that, of like, I tried and I didn't get that far. I wonder about part of the discussions for people to really spend some time investing in that story, even if that's not going to be the video that's submitted and the 15% or whatever rule, of like knowing that I'm going to take this projectile and see it through to a full story experience, and that the winning is going to be that resiliency of whatever it scored. It has a home, and the investment and the synthesis and the group effort will come to fruition. And so, you were saying a couple hours and you can get something put together here. So like, if we do our couple hours, then like, what are we spending the rest of the next 3 weeks doing? And giving ourselves some permission to be playful and create that home world that is more artistic, and maybe that be part of the group goal of like, we're going to make the projectile, but we're also going to make the experience. And it doesn't necessarily answer as far as if you didn't make the projectile, you don't win the competition or win anything, but it does give us a place to have use as more sculptor or artistic emphasis. And we all know that when we can go into worlds and interact with something in the world, it's a more popular world usually. So we're going to use this as our challenge. But I feel your pain, Harry. I feel your pain.
I know you do. Thanks.
Thank you for giving that a voice. I do appreciate it. Anyone else as far as questions? One last question for today, because we are closing up our Q&A. Okay, New Robman. All right, hop on down and grab the key. Okay, here we go. Have a seat. And then go ahead and unmute.
Okay. So, are you planning to add any more gizmos in the future? Yeah, that's really good.
Okay. So, future path stuff. This is going to be a harder one because we're trying to keep this specifically focused on the launcher. And I appreciate the question. And I also give you full right to say no comment.
Yeah. I mean, we're always working on stuff, so more
someday.
Information in the future. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question,
pretty much.
Robin. Yeah. Probably someday, right? And Okay, I think that was a short question, but I want to thank everyone for coming. We had some glitches coming in, and thank you so much to our panel for showing up and just being human beings with us and feeling the struggle, but also feeling the opportunity in this. And I definitely feel like I'm growing in this experience and making more space for people. And if you're trying to get out of the bullpen, New Robin, you just go over to the exit. Thank you, Homan. And thank you to our videographers, JP and Phoenix, for holding their heads super still with bricks on them. Yay!